Welcome to this Good Friday observance. Surrounded by the shadows cast by the COVID-19 pandemic, I invite you to participate together in a medieval liturgy called the Tenebrae. Tenebrae is the Latin word for darkness or shadows, and this service is a representation of the darkness that covered the world at the death of Jesus. There is an importance in not rushing too quickly from the story of Good Friday to the joyful celebration of Easter Day. To feel the darkness of this day descend and to let it penetrate our being. For only once it has penetrated our soul can we truly know the meaning and the joy of Easter. So let us take this walk among the shadows that bedog our human life. We will read through the words spoken to Jesus this day, interspersed with moments of silence and the gathering darkness. Don't be afraid of the dark or of the silence. May you know the love of God to be present with you. Let's begin our time together in prayer. God, on this dark day, the shadows deepen, and we come to be present with Jesus. With the glory of Palm Sunday behind us and the victory of Easter not yet come, we sit together with our breaking or broken hearts. In this world that is at once beautiful and holy and tragic, we seek to be present with all who suffer. In the dark valleys of life, when sorrow threatens to overwhelm, we long for a safe and sacred space to sit with our grief and our questions. Jesus Christ, holy friend, we know that you are here with us. Let us be here with you. Amen. Let's start by singing just the first verse of this song by Gerald Moultrie to the Liturgy of St. James. Let all mortal flesh keep silence, and with fear and trembling stand.
The shadow of betrayal. Reading from Matthew chapter 26. When it was evening, he took his place with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." And they became greatly distressed and began to say to him one after another, "Surely not I, Lord." He answered, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that one not to have been born." Judas, who betrayed him, said, "Surely not I, Rabbi." He replied, "You have said so."
Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison.
Luke 22:4-44. When he reached the place, he said to them, "Pray that you may not come into the time of trial." Then he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done." Then an angel of heaven appeared to him and gave him strength. In his anguish he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground.
Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison.
The shadow of loneliness. Matthew chapter 26, verses 40 to 45. Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "So, could you not stay awake with me 1 hour? Stay awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Again he went away for the second time and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." Again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners."
Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison.
The shadow of desertion. Reading from Matthew chapter 26. While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd with swords and clubs, from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Arrest him." At once he came up to Jesus and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you are here to do." Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and arrested him. At that hour Jesus said to the crowds, "Have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me, as though I were a bandit? Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, and you did not arrest me. But all this has taken place so that the scriptures of the prophets may be fulfilled." Then all the disciples deserted him and fled.
Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison.
The The shadow of accusation. A reading from Matthew chapter 26. Now the chief priests and the whole council were looking for false testimony against Jesus, so that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. At last 2 came forward and said, "This fellow said, 'I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days.' The high priest stood up and said, 'Have you no answer? What is it that they testify against you?' But Jesus was silent. Then the high priest said to him, 'I put you under oath before the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God.' Jesus said to him, 'You have said so. But I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven.' Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, 'He has blasphemed. Why do we still need witnesses? You have now heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict?' They answered, 'He deserves death.' Then they spat in his face and struck him, and some slapped him, saying, 'Prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who is it that struck you?'
Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison.
The shadow of mockery. Reading from Mark chapter 15. Pilate spoke to them again. "Then what do you wish me to do with the man you call the King of the Jews?" They shouted back, "Crucify him." Pilate asked them, "Why, what evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him." So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas for them, and after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. Then the soldiers led him into the courtyard of the palace, that is, the governor's headquarters, and they called together the whole cohort, and they clothed him in a purple cloak, and after twisting him some thorns into a crown, they put it on him, and they began saluting him. "Hail, King of the Jews!" They struck his head with a reed, spat on him, and knelt down in homage to him. After mocking him, they stripped him of the purple cloak, and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him out to crucify him.
Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison.
The shadow of death. Reading from Luke chapter 23. When they came to the place that is called the Skull, they crucified Jesus there with the criminals, one on his right, one on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they cast lots to divide his clothing, and the people stood by watching. But the leaders scoffed at him, saying, "He saved others, let him save himself if he is the Messiah of God, the chosen one." The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering sour wine, and saying, "If you are the King of the Jews, save yourself." There was also an inscription over him, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who were hanged there kept deriding him and saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation?
And we indeed have been condemned justly, for we are getting what we deserve for our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." He replied, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." It was now about noon. The darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon, while the sun's light failed and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, crying with a loud voice, said, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." Having said this, he breathed his last.
Kyrie, Kyrie, eleison. And so this service of shadows concludes, and we wait what comes next. And yet we do not rush headlong to the joy of Easter morning. We rather tarry among the shadows and allow the sobering realities and meaning of this day to penetrate our souls. Then you are invited to gather again on Easter morning with us and hear the power and wonder of the Easter story to renew our spirits and joyfully lift us back to life and hope.